Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson.
20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the
Welcome back to another episode, another show of the Ian Fritts Show. It's me again, typical as is every show. It's me, Ian Fritts, here with you guys. And we got a pretty good show, I think, for you guys tonight. Now, Week 12 isn't filled with all of the games that you would just be thrilled to watch this weekend. There's not 15 games like, man, I got to watch every single one of those this weekend. However, there are a couple gems in here, and I think a couple games that could be maybe game of the year potential, depending on how they shake out, the ramifications from those games, what everything means for each of these teams, except for any SEC teams, because they're all playing cupcakes this week. Yes, it is the annual week for the SEC to play absolutely nobody. They get a little bit of a break this week. You know, I don't judge. However, I do in this scenario. I hate it. I wish the SEC would play some real opponents, some in-conference opponents that are actually good at playing football instead of the old Chattanooga, maybe the Tennessee State, Tennessee State blind school of the deaf. There's a couple teams playing teams of that nature this weekend, and that's not great for any college football fan like myself, like you guys. It's not great. We like to see teams play teams of higher caliber, better teams, okay? With that being said, the show for today, it'll be down there. We've got Washington, Oregon State preview, Texas, Iowa State preview, and then we've got my picks for this weekend. Hopefully we get back on track with the picks. It has not been great as of late, but I got a good feeling about this weekend. Okay. Washington versus Oregon State. Washington, the Huskies, the good old Huskies from that state up there that rains all the time, somehow they are still undefeated, okay? The last few weeks, they've been reeling a little bit. They've been struggling. They've been stuck in the mud a little bit, if you will. Ever since that Oregon win, they haven't looked like the team that beat Oregon, quite frankly. They struggled offensively against Arizona State, as you may remember from the show recap a few weeks ago, about a month ago actually. They didn't score offensively against Arizona State. Michael Penix was held out of the end zone. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, they scraped by some other teams. Stanford, they scraped by late. Stanford had a chance to win that football game, and they don't do it. And the team that Washington is playing this weekend, Oregon State, handled Stanford last weekend, 62-14, I believe. We were on the wrong side of that pick. Shockingly, we're in a little bit of a lull. We'll get back. Okay. Look, barring any chaos that I haven't foreseen or anything, Washington, I think, needs to win out. I think they need to go undefeated to make it into the college football playoff. Barring any just unforeseen absolute madness, okay? Because of how they've looked recently. Now, this would mean if they didn't win out, but maybe they won the Pac-12 still, they beat Oregon twice. Now, that is convincing. However, I still think they need to win out to get to the college football playoff. And in order to do that, you have to beat this Oregon State team. Now, Oregon State, very much alive in the Pac-12 conversation, okay? However, you could be, after this weekend, very much dead in it. So, must win for both of these teams. Obviously, every game is a must win in college football in the landscape that it is right now at this moment. Next year, must win is kind of debatable. But right now, must win, obviously, for Oregon State. They already have the 2 losses on the season. However, ever since that loss to Washington State, yes, I know Oregon State has lost since then, but that loss to Washington State, ever since then, the Beavers have been playing some good football. They've been playing within themselves. They haven't been turning it over a lot. They haven't been trying to throw the ball downfield a lot. They've stayed to their identity, which is DJU, throwing some good balls over the middle, outside, little slants, let the playmakers make plays, and then handing that ball to Martinez. Letting them get it going, That's what Oregon State's been doing lately. Now, Oregon State, as I mentioned, very much alive in Pac-12 conversation, okay? You've got to win this weekend against Washington at home. They are actually favored in this game. However, Oregon State has to go play Oregon next weekend. Now, Oregon State has the chance to do something just absolutely hilarious this week and next weekend, okay? So Oregon State, as we all know, not going to be in a conference next year. They're maybe working something out with the Mountain West is the latest news as of now. However, as of that, prior to that, and, nothing is official yet, Oregon State doesn't have a conference. So last year, the Pac-12, they have something that if they win this week, win next week, they're in the Pac-12 championship game against who knows who. They have a chance to do something really funny to win this thing on its way out and just stick it to Oregon and Washington. So that is very much on the table for the Oregon State Beavers. Let's get into the weeds of this game, see what I'm thinking about it, what is going to happen, what are the balances of each team, what are the strengths and weaknesses of each team, and what could happen in this game. Okay, so Oregon State's a 2.5 point favorite at home this weekend up in Corvallis. Going to be a fun one. Going to be a rainy, cold game this weekend. Keep that in mind when I'm telling you all of these strengths and weaknesses for each of these teams. Rainy and cold, that favors a type of play that one of these teams does and the other does not, okay? So some offensive strengths for the Oregon State Beavers right now are the red zone scoring. They haven't gotten into the red zone this year and not scored. What does that mean? 100%. Whenever they get into the red zone, they're always capitalizing on those opportunities. They're not turning the ball over. They're not going for it on fourth down and not getting it. They are capitalizing on those red zone opportunities. So keep that in mind this weekend. That is definitely a strength for the Oregon State Beavers, okay? They're 15th in yards per rush the entire year. Damian Martinez, 7 yards a carry. Dude is an absolute stud of a linebacker, future NFL guy. He looks good running the football. He makes guys miss. He can run through dudes. He's got breakaway speed. They've got a couple of guys that can run the rock, but specifically Damian Martinez. He is going to be a player to watch this weekend. Wet, rainy, cold conditions, running the football. That's what you do in those conditions. They can do it, the Oregon State Beavers, okay? Some weaknesses for the Oregon State offense, okay? Third down conversion percentage, a little bit middle of the road. They're about 50th in the country in third down conversions at just under 40%. So you would hope you got a top 5 team coming into your stadium this weekend. You would hope you can capitalize on home field advantage and the big time atmosphere to just will you to be better on third down. And shocker, being good on third down helps you win big time football games. So that is something to watch for this weekend for the Oregon State Beavers. Can they be better on third down than they have been all year? Let's get to this defensive side of the ball for the Oregon State Beavers, because offensively, they like to run the football and then do play action off of that with DJU throwing the deep ball, throwing it over the middle with their tight ends. That's what they like to do offensively. Run the ball. Going to be able to do it this weekend. Rainy, wet, at home. That's what you can do. Give it to your guys. Okay? Defensive strengths for the Oregon State Beavers. Sacks. They can get after the quarterback. They are top 10 in getting after the quarterback this entire year. So that is something to watch for this weekend at home. Big time atmosphere. Maybe Washington isn't going to try and throw the football as much as they do, but a team like Washington that likes to throw the football as much as they do, when you have a front four like Oregon State does who can get after the quarterback, bringing blitzes, all of that, and they definitely have some things dialed up for a big-time game this weekend. You can chalk that up to Oregon State's going to get after the quarterback. They may not get sacks, but a lot of pressures force Michael Penix to make mistakes. That's where Oregon State is going to have to live defensively. They also have a top 20 rush defense in the entire country. So you're playing a team that is primarily, now Washington has shown the ability to run the ball occasionally, and they ran it effectively against Oregon. However, that was at home. This is on the road. Are you going to be able to do that in an atmosphere like Corvallis this weekend? The jury is still out. And against a really good Oregon State run defense. So that is going to be something to watch for as well. Now, as for weaknesses for Oregon State, pretty much everywhere else statistically, Oregon State struggles defensively. So Michael Penix is going to be able to pick that defense apart how he wants to, when he wants to, where he wants to. I think the only factor that is going to prohibit Michael Penix from doing all of those things against that Oregon State secondary is going to be the weather. Now, that comes down to the coaches. Are they going to allow Michael Penix to throw the ball all over the field? I think you have to, because he's a premier passer in this country, and you don't let weather affect that too much. Now, you've got to find a balance in the run and pass game this weekend in a hostile environment. You've got to find those balances and just find the right attack for you that day. But as for Oregon State's defense, you shouldn't have any problems throwing the ball against them. They haven't been able to stop it all year, so I'd look for that weakness for Oregon State going against that strength for Washington. So offensively, obviously, Washington, great at throwing the football. You got Michael Penix, you got Rome Odunze, McMillan. All of those guys are incredible at what they do, and they should have a chance to do it this weekend. I know the weather is going to be a factor, as I've mentioned a few times now, but when you have playmakers like Washington does, like a Michael Penix Jr., like a Rome Odunze, you get them the ball. I don't care that he's a wide receiver, that he's a quarterback. You throw him the football downfield. You let him do what he does. He's a playmaker, Rome Odunze, and he's going to make plays even if it is raining, even if it's a hurricane up there. I mean, you're throwing the ball to Rome Odunze. That is Washington, and that is what they do. I don't think you should let the weather affect your offensive identity, okay? Now, if it was maybe -5 and it's snowing, you're in a snowstorm, hail's coming down as well, that'd be a wild atmosphere. Now, if it's that, I think you got to run the ball. I don't know if you could throw the ball in those scenarios, but it's not going to be hailstorm, hurricane, snow, and all that, mix into one. It's not going to be that. It's going to be some rain. It's going to be cold. It's going to be football weather is what it's going to be. And you throw the ball in football weather, you do, especially if that's your offensive identity. So if I'm Washington, I'm not getting away from my offensive identity just because of what the forecast says and just because of what the weather is going to look like this weekend. Now, they don't run the ball particularly well, and I think they're going to have to establish the run this weekend to help temper the atmosphere that the Oregon State fans are going to have this weekend. Top 5 matchup, or top 5 opponent coming into your house. You still are alive in Pac-12 last year in the Pac-12. I think the fans are going to be rocking, okay? So you've got to find some early success on the ground if you're the Oregon State Beavers. And defensively for Washington, look, I've looked into the numbers. I've done it all. I'm sure I got to take a sip for this because this is tough to hear. Washington defensively, what are their strengths? They don't have any, guys. I've looked into it. And I've hired people, lawyers. I got everybody looking into this, and I just wanted to see, hey, do you guys see something I'm not? Sometimes our eyes deceive us. There's been some football players this year say eye crimes. Your eyes are deceiving you and they make you make a mistake. Okay, I got other eyes on this. It's not just me who's seen how bad this Washington defense is. Now they're average in some areas, but for the most part, they are bad in literally every area, okay? They are 95th in total yards given up per game. If you want to know if that's good or not, that's not good. That's not good. There's, I believe, 130 teams that are that are in this category. So 95th out of 130th, you don't want to be there, guys. You don't want to be there. Now, what is interesting is that they are only 45th in points given up per game. So what this tells me, and I've watched their games, they do a good job, and I will say this about their defense, they do a good job of not totally breaking down after they give up a lot of yards, okay? So they do have that ability to stop some teams when they are moving the ball, but recently that has not been the case. That was earlier in the season when that defense had a little bit more juice, maybe less injuries, less tired, less physical games week in, week out. as of late, that trend is starting to go downhill. So I'd expect Oregon State's offense to be able to put some points up this weekend. I expect Washington to be able to put some points up this weekend. So Oregon State's ability to finish drives is going to be key in this game. Oregon State does that extremely well, as I've mentioned, have not gotten into the red zone this year and not scored. So that's going to be a key for me this weekend. Can Oregon State finish those drives, or does Washington bend but not break? I think this is going to be a game that Oregon State's run game is going to succeed very well in, and I think that's going to be the key. There are several keys, but the Oregon State run game is the key. I think Damian Martinez is going to have an absolute day this weekend. He is the potential certified stud muffin this weekend. Still haven't had one of those come true, unfortunately, so maybe I should switch my pick, but I'm not going to. I think Oregon State knocks off Washington this weekend. They're favored. I don't care. I think they knock off Washington. It's been coming for 4 or 5 weeks right now. I've seen it. Everybody has seen it. Washington is going to lose. They're going to stumble before the postseason. Okay, you can see it coming from a mile away. I think Washington finally stumbles this weekend, and we get a huge matchup with Oregon State and Oregon next weekend in Eugene. That is going to be a fun one. So give me Oregon State plus the points. I like that pick this weekend. Okay, moving right along. We've got Texas, Iowa State. Huge game for the Big 12 this weekend. If you know anything about the Big 12, Texas is atop the standings currently, and then you've got 4 teams tied for second. You've got Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Kansas State. So this is a huge game for Iowa State and Texas. Because of that loss that Texas has to OU. If they were to lose one of their last 2 games and OU would win out, barring some crazy things outside of that, OU would be in over them because of that head-to-head win that OU has. So Texas really, they need to win out, obviously. Everybody's saying that, win out. Yes, that's clear. But not even just for college football playoff hope conversation, but Big 12 title hope conversation. If they lose one game and OU stumble, yeah, okay. But Texas, they control their destiny. They just win their games and they're good. They're good, okay? So this is a huge game this weekend for them. Also a huge game for Iowa State because Iowa State needs to win and have some other things happen. They need Oklahoma State to lose. They need Kansas State to lose. So Iowa State's got to win and do some other things to help them get into the Big 12 title conversation. Title game, not conversation. They're squarely in the conversation. So Iowa State up there in Ames this weekend. Night game, cold weather, November game. Championship November, cold day up in Ames, Iowa. Woo! This has got the makings of an absolute defensive battle. Yes, I said it. Now, you may be saying, Ian, whoa. Doesn't Texas have all those playmakers on offense? Don't they have all those dudes? You got Quinn Ewers healthy again. You got 5-star running back. You got Xavier Worthy out there. You got A.D. Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell, excuse me. Adonai, if you watch this, please forgive me. You've got all those playmakers on offense. Do you think this is going to be a defensive battle? I do. I do think this is going to be a defensive battle, and I don't see any way this isn't going to be a defensive battle. Okay, Iowa State struggles immensely on offense. Texas is finally starting to figure some things out defensively these past couple weeks. And Texas, they lost their starting running back, Jonathan Brooks, and I think that's going to hurt them. Obviously, it's going to hurt them. If you lose a stud running back like Jonathan Brooks, it's going to hurt you. Shocker. But I think this is definitely going to hurt them on the road because what works on the road, your run game works better on the road. That doesn't require as much communication. You don't passing off blocks for the offensive line. It doesn't require as much. So that is going to be something to watch for this weekend. Is Texas going to be able to establish the run with Cedric Baxter back there, or does it just completely fall apart? Now, Cedric Baxter, he's a good back, but Jonathan Brooks has been at a different level this year. So that is going to be something to watch for defensively for Iowa State. They're great. They are a great defense. Year in and year out, that's what they do, the 3-3-5 that they've made so popular all over the country. Everybody's running it now. So Iowa State, defensively, they're always sound. But are they going to give up points this weekend to Texas? I don't think so. I don't think Texas is going to give up points this weekend. Statistically, I was looking into this game. Nothing was standing out to me particularly to tell you guys, except for nothing. Yeah. I don't think the stats really are going to do anything for you guys this game. If you want to look into those, feel free to, but I don't think that's the story of this game. I think the story of this game is Iowa State's freshman quarterback, Rocco Becht. Okay, he's been pretty good all year. He's been pretty good. He has definitely been solid for a freshman quarterback. However, he's been prone to making a few mistakes, and that comes with being a freshman quarterback. I'm not faulting the guy for being a freshman. That's what you do when you're a freshman. You make mistakes, and that's how you learn. That's how everybody learns. Okay, you make mistakes, you move on from it, and you get better. And Rocco Becht's going to be a good quarterback in these next few years. Okay, but right now he's not quite there yet. He still makes those mistakes, and I think the game comes down to him making a mistake this weekend. Is he going to make a mistake that hurts Iowa State completely and utterly and just throws the game away for them? I think there's definitely that possibility. So for me, like, is Rocco Becht, they have a chance to go down there and drive and win the football game, late. They've got the crowd behind them. They've got them rocking. They're down by 3. There's 1:50 left on the clock. Rocco Becht is driving. They get into the red zone. We're not kicking a field goal. We got a chance to win at home against Texas. We're going to do it. There's 25 seconds left on the clock. Rocco Becht, he's rolling out to his right. He's got his guy crossing in the end zone. He throws it up. Boom. Out of nowhere. Texas safety. He didn't see him. Rocco Becht didn't see him. I can't fault him. He's a freshman. Texas safety. Over the middle. Pick. Game over. Does that happen? A late pick? A late pick does that in this game? Is that how Iowa State gets out of the Big 12 conversation and Texas is just in it, basically? Is that what happens this weekend? There's definitely a chance, and I think that is what's going to happen this weekend. Now, that exact scenario, if that happens, you guys just give me all the credit in the world, okay? That's what I'm asking for. Now, if it doesn't happen that way, you can tweet at me. You can say, hey, Ian, you were just so wrong. I don't think I'm going to be so wrong because I'm picking Texas to win the football game, and I think that's what's going to happen. However, I think Iowa State will cover, and I think Rocco Becht could have a costly mistake down in the red zone, maybe a fumble, an interception, whatever it might be. I think he's going to have a costly turnover late in the game that ends up sealing the deal for Texas, and Texas just continues to find ways to win late, and I think that's what's going to happen this weekend. So just rolling in to the other picks this weekend. We've got Georgia -10 against Tennessee. Give me Georgia at Tennessee. I don't care. Give me Georgia -10. Gonna have to go through these pretty quickly because my computer is about to die. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you forget to charge your computer, so you just gotta run through these, okay? And maybe going quicker will help the picks. I don't know. Ohio State versus Minnesota -27.5. Give me Ohio State. Minnesota's no good. Michigan at Maryland, -19. Give me Michigan. They've been good to me all year, so give me Michigan, -19. Florida State versus North Alabama. I don't care about this game at all. Florida State, give it to me. Washington at Oregon State. I already told you guys this one. Oregon State, give it to me, -2.5. Oregon at Arizona State, -23.5. What else is there to say? Give me Oregon, -23.5. Iowa State, +7.5. I like it. Alabama versus Chattanooga. Alabama, obviously. Missouri versus Florida, -11.5. This is one where I think the line could be a little higher. I'm surprised it's this low for Missouri. So give me Missouri all day, every day in that line. Louisville at Miami. I think this game has the possibility to be the game of the weekend. I didn't talk about it, but I think there definitely has the possibility to be an incredible game this weekend down there in Miami. It's a pick 'em right now, so give me Louisville. I don't feel great about it, but give me Louisville. Penn State versus Rutgers. I was going back and forth this week trying to figure out. I like Rutgers defense, but it's in Penn State, so I'm going to take Penn State -20.5. I don't feel great about it, but that's what I'm doing. I might change that one because my gut right now is telling me Rutgers +20.5. Rutgers +20.5. You know what we're going to do? We're going to change that right now. Rutgers +20.5. That's the pick. That's the pick for that game, okay? Next one up, Ole Miss versus UL Monroe, -37. That is an absurd line. I don't care. Give me Ole Miss. Oklahoma at BYU, -24.5. Give me BYU to cover that game, +24.5. I like it. LSU versus Georgia State, -31 for LSU. Give me LSU. Iowa versus Illinois, -3. Give me Iowa. Arizona versus Utah, a pick 'em. Give me Arizona. It's at home. If it was in Utah, I'd take Utah, obviously. But in Arizona, give me Arizona. Great football team. I like the way they're playing. Notre Dame versus Wake Forest, minus 24.5 for Notre Dame. I like Wake Forest in this game, mainly because of Notre Dame struggling lately. So give me Wake Forest. North Carolina at Clemson. Clemson is favored in this game. Number 20, North Carolina at Clemson. Clemson is favored by 6.5. I've gone back and forth on this one. I'll probably change it 4 or 5 more times before kickoff. But right now I have Clemson minus 6.5. I wish the line was maybe 4.5. I like that a little more for Clemson. But give me a touchdown, and I like it. Kansas State at Kansas, minus 7.5. Give me the Wildcats all day. I haven't heard if Jason Bean's going to play or not. My sources are on it. We're still trying to figure out. But right now, Kansas State, give it to me, minus 7.5. Oklahoma State at Houston, minus 7. Oklahoma State all day, every day. Big bounce back week for them this weekend. And then finally, Tulane at Florida Atlantic, minus 9.5. Give me the Florida Atlantic Owls. You know, rare mascot equals rare win. The Owls. Give me the Owls. Woo, woo. That's what I like this weekend. Those are the picks. That's the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. As you know, subscribe, like, tell everybody you know about the show. I've been thinking about what we're going to do in the off season. I've got some, I think, cool ideas that we're going to have for the shows in the off season. Still going to do the two times a week situation, but I think they're going to be some fun episodes. So you got that to look forward to in the off season, which unfortunately is pretty close to right now. But that's the show for tonight. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the recap show this weekend. And I think we're going to have some fun things to talk about. So I love you guys. We'll see you in the next one, and I love you. Bye.
Michigan State. Jalen wants Jackson.
20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45.